WBNX Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome to this Monday edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. I have got to stop saying that because it's not just one day a week, so I can't say this week's edition. No, Monday's edition of the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. And the correspondents today. All right, so we're all just hanging out today. So it's another intern show. They're getting a lot of practice, which they all should be overjoyed about. So it's a different feel today. We're going to have some different opinions, some different ideologies, because when it's me, Morgan, and Chris is older than me.
You had to think about his name?
Because I had two Chris's. In the beginning, there was two Chris's.
Like
no, I'm sorry.
I know, right, Rude? You can be fired. I can send you out of the studio.
I
just want to put that out there, that I can send you out. All right, so everybody tell them a little bit about yourself for those that don't remember, because, you guys are kind of in and out. So, Makia, start with you.
I'm Makia, and I usually do content writing, but I do production as well, as far as video production, helping put together commercials and things of that nature. And yeah.
Cool. Well, I am Darren. I also do content writing. Just graduated from Clark Atlanta, and this past May. Looking forward to be in radio personnel, so I'm just getting all as good experience as I can.
And I'm Michelle. I have a degree in communications and creative writing. I am thrilled to be on the air again. Thank you, Ricardo. And I don't think people give killer whales enough credit. They're my favorite animal, and they're amazing.
A what?
Killer whales, orcas.
How we get there? How
They're
we get the killer whales?
Because it's my favorite animal. You
A
told
killer
me.
whale is
So
your
we're
favorite
talking about
animal.
favorite
They're
animals,
adorable. Have you never seen Free Willy? You never watched Free Willy. Don't tell me that.
Was
Michael
Free Willy-
Jackson was on the soundtrack.
Was Willie a killer whale?
Yes, he was like trapped in SeaWorld, and like the guy had to get. Wow, that was a classic. You missed out.
I mean, I know the movie. It's just not my thing, so I didn't watch it. I know the movie. It's just not my thing,
Oh
so
my goodness.
I didn't know he was a killer whale.
I'm not the only. You saw Free Willy, right?
I have.
Thank you, Makia, for caring about the orcas. See, people don't care enough.
Is that what it called, or is it called a
It's
killer
called
whale?
Orca.
Orcas,
They just call it
like
killer whales.
killer whales are like the common name, but orcas
Yeah.
are a more scientific name for them. There's transient and resident orcas, and they travel all over the world.
Some
Mainly
whales
the
look more
Pacific
scary
Coast.
than sharks. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're like the wolves of the ocean. They eat everybody.
Yeah.
But they're pretty.
I don't know how we got here, and I'm
Killers.
really concerned about.
I can't believe that's your favorite animal.
Okay.
It
Okay,
is.
let's go.
All right, so yeah, because y'all are killing me. All right, so let's get into it. Over the weekend, I think the biggest thing that happened over the weekend was the hijacking of the plane debacle. So, Darren, you get to be the resident expert on this. So, explain to us what happened this weekend with this whole plane debacle.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with this. So the guy was, his name was Richard Russell. He's 29 years old. He worked for the airport for, 3 years, since 2015. So he was only like a bag clerk. Like he was the guy pretty much that worked on the ground. So all he did was handle baggage and tell the planes pretty much the direction as to where to go. So one day, him having all this access to the planes, one day he just finds joy in just jumping on one. So he decided to just jump on the plane and, just do zigzags and twirl around the sky.
That's wow. So we're just playing jungle gyms with
We are
like
playing
Boeing
jungle gyms
757s?
with the planes.
Wow. All right.
So now everyone's asking, like, okay, so how did he get access to these planes?
Which is going to be my question. How did he just get on a plane and...
So with his title at the airport, they give you like certain access, like it's like a mall cop having
it's clearance.
access. Clearance, exactly.
Clearance.
To certain things. So he had clearance to go onto the planes. He had this access to like just jump on it. Like airplanes are not like car keys. You don't need car keys to start an airplane. They're not like like that. So he jumped on, started doing. Everybody thought it was an air show.
But the fact that he even knows how to use the because it's certain buttons you have to press and stuff to even
Well, I guess him being
take off.
around it in 3 years, he learned and spoke with people on how to operate a plane.
Right.
So, and I'm sure you probably have some background knowledge on how to operate a plane as
Well,
well.
see, my only question is who is checking him? Like, there is a hierarchy of authority, I would imagine, at every airport. Who was his authority, like, for him to check in with?
Yeah, I'm assuming he didn't have one because now the government and Congress are saying, like, okay, so what can we do now to prevent this from happening again?
Yeah, because
And
that's
then
pretty scary.
Everyone's just like, well, I mean, well, from what I've read on the Washington Post, they're just like, well, we do background checks. So how can we prevent something to happen again that has never happened before for someone like, himself or anyone for that matter? So if you don't have a bad background, I mean, how do I know that you're going to hijack a plane one day?
Yeah.
He just did it. And his thing was, he's just a broken guy and he has people who care about him, but it's just like, how do we know you're broken? Like, we gave you all this access to the, this equipment, to these planes, and it's just, you could have called danger to everyone around you and even the airport.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like going deeper with the background checks, I would think, because I don't know the level to which maybe if you work in that environment, I would imagine it's a pretty thorough background check.
Right.
But maybe adding, like, I don't know, mental screenings to background checks.
Or
if that's an
and
invasion
what
of
something I thought
privacy.
about, and he liked whales, okra whales at that. So one of his things
He
was
did not.
He did. He
Stop
said,
it.
Oh my God.
He did?
He asked whereabouts of an okra whale and her dead calf, and he started laughing, and he
Oh
was
my
wondering what
gosh.
would happen if he tried to do a backflip.
No.
These are the questions he asked. So right now, I'm asking you.
Okay, okay.
Are
and
you okay?
to be fair, that
Yeah,
was trending
do
news.
I need
There
That
was-
was trending news.
That
and-
no, it was.
And he loved whales just like you did. So now I'm worried about, don't give you any type
Well,
of.
I mean, you knew I was
access
crazy,
to it.
so that's
Okay,
different.
so you're
You
you're
knew.
never allowed in the studio alone because I don't know what you
No,
may
no,
do.
no telling
But that
what
was a
she's
full
gonna do.
disclosure. Like, you guys already knew about me. We didn't know about this airplane guy, and I don't have access to 757s. So.
All right, so
You're
apparently the plane model was a 76-seat Bombardier Q400.
Right.
So and apparently he was in poor mental state and suicidal.
But that's my thing. Why would they let someone who is, mentally ill in that way? Like, why do they have access?
The question
to
isn't why, it's just
intervene?
like how. How do you get access to
Well,
that? I
okay,
guess-
well, no, it's why as well because he should not be be allowed out in that area.
Well, you forget people can hide their crazy really well. And also the fact that you work for these large companies, you work for these large corporations, and your boss, your superiors are not going to come and check on you. Like, are you at work on time? Are you doing your job? They don't really have time to chop it up
To
with you like
micromanage,
that.
pretty much.
Right, exactly. So maybe
yeah, but
no one
they
had...
knew that about him, right? They knew that he
Did
had
they?
a
I'm
mental
assuming they
illness,
didn't
right?
know. They couldn't have
I think
known
this
that
was
he
research
suicidal.
like after the fact.
Right.
Like, but during, like, nobody's going to come in and check up on you like that. They're going to assume you're here at work, you're doing your job, you're okay. And until something happens and you play acrobatics with the planes, they're not going to know.
Well, I guess the question, because I think the higher the level, the more scrutinizing it gets. So if he had been a pilot, they probably would have done that kind of background and said, okay, well, what's your mental state? Are you taking medication? But because he was an on-the-ground air trafficker, I mean, how much capacity do you need to wave?
Right.
Well, I get then again to wave flags and follow instructions from the watchtower.
Right, he's just a baggage handler and just a
I
crew,
mean,
a
true,
ground
but
crew
I just
member.
feel like for all the crazy stuff that could happen at an airport, because there have been some crazy things that will happen, you would just think that when they hire their employees, that they would, go in depth. It doesn't matter what your position is, they would go to that extent to do background checks on everyone, just because you're dealing with people's lives in the air. It doesn't matter what their job is. You got somebody like that. What if he were to sneak on a plane while, people were on a loaded plane? What if he were to do something like that and decide to act a fool? Like, then what?
Well, I guess it has to be more than a background check, because I'm sure a background check only checks for like criminal history, things like that. It's not going to check for your mental history. So it's
Right.
got to be more than a background check.
I think now
but
they're going to start it, though.
But you got to think of the problem. All these things are nice in theory. The problems become cost, because the cost of every individual, every employee of the airport, like a background check, I think is anywhere from $50 to $100. Think about that per person, per employee at the
Right.
airport.
You have a
What
That's
company.
airport
just
was
basic.
this?
This was the one in Alaska. Alaska Airlines.
Alaska got money.
Really?
They pay
that's your
they
answer?
pay you to
That
live
they have
there.
money?
I mean, they might. They pay you to live there. You get a stipend yearly for being a citizen of Alaska, of that state.
I'm
so.
concerned. I'm concerned.
Aren't we all?
I mean, researchers, you do.
But okay, so this is the problem, and this is why this particular story was good, because it's an extremist situation. Like, nobody expects somebody to have mental problems, get on a plane, pilot a plane, and then crash it. And by the way, this plane was empty. Thank God, the plane was empty. It was just him. So when it landed, I think it crashed and burned, and I think he died.
Wow.
But thank God
Allegedly,
it wasn't.
he died, so.
Right, it wasn't.
Well, I mean, unless he's an X-Man, he probably died. I mean, that's
He's out
that.
there.
However,
somewhere.
the airport, Horizon Air, which is the airline, they did send other airplanes up there to help him, like, guide him down, like, this is how you land it. However, he was worried about the whereabouts of other people. He didn't want to hurt anyone else on the ground, so he's just like, how about I just dive it into the ocean and call it a night? So these are his exact words. Like, when he got it in the air, he just wanted to have fun, zigzag, do the windmills or whatever he had to do while he's in the air, but he did not want to land it the way that they wanted him to do. Like, in this audio, I wish I could play it for you guys, but it's audio of them, like, going back and forth, and they're just like, don't joke like that or whatnot. And he's just like, yeah, I should just land into the ocean, just call it a night.
So that was of his own volition to land it that way.
Yeah, so he landed it the way he wanted to land it, because it was
Wow.
engine
I don't
failure
think
and also
he
the fuel was going
expected
low.
to. I don't think he thought that he was gonna die though.
Right,
I
I
think
don't
he
think he did.
he thought, like in the movies when they're like, yeah, like let's land this plane, and then they
But I would have
land
landed
it.
in the ocean though.
I mean, yeah,
You
but
can't.
maybe he thought he was gonna go on an island, and this was about to be his new life. Since
Well,
he's
see-
already like, Pop goes the weasel in the air.
That's
Oh,
what
wow.
I'm saying though.
Pop
Like
goes
with
the
it,
weasel in
like
the air.
my father was in the United States Air Force, and
Uh-huh.
so he has pilot experience. And what he was telling me one day, this was before all this, that a lot of people are really ignorant about planes like that, and they see these movies and they think, oh, just land a plane or whatever. Like, these movies aren't real. Like, there is a reason that you have to be extra careful as a pilot flying over water. When you land in the ocean, it's pretty much game over. So there was no, I don't know if he thought that, if you're right, but if he did, it was a huge mistake, because there is no getting back from that. Like, 9 times out of 10, it's done.
Okay, so again, I chose this because we're segueing back to suicides and how do we decipher someone is actually suicidal. We keep coming back to this, with the whole Demi Lovato pulling what she pulled, and then the other people pulling what they pulled. How do we know? Because it's a different world. Case in point, this weekend there was a young guy, I can't remember his name, so I'm not going to call it, but in Atlanta, and apparently he committed suicide. Young African-American guy, only I think 23, 25. And I kept seeing it all in my timeline because he was friends with a lot of people that I'm friends with on Facebook. And they were just like, oh, my God, I can't believe he committed suicide. But then somebody had screenshot his suicide note in June. So I'm trying to understand, how do we miss stuff like this? Because it's August. And the suicide, I'll say cry for help, that he posted in June was very detailed. So he was saying, look, my family has ostracized me. Everything I touch is crashes and burns. And it was not a paragraph. We were talking about like 5 or 6. It was a long letter back in June. So why are we surprised in August that this young man took his life? So I guess that becomes the question. How do we identify when someone is quote unquote playing and when somebody is actually seriously crying for help?
I don't think anyone is actually like playing.
Playing wasn't the right word. That was the only word I could come up with. But
Well, I get what you're saying.
like bluffing. How do we know when somebody's
Right.
bluffing?
I just feel
versus-
like everyone, because when you hear about suicide and the way that it happens, and you think about, especially if you know the person or whatever, I feel like it's more so of a it depends on the person and how they handle it. Because with some people, you can notice like they're going down, down, and down, and then you're like super worried. You're like, are you okay? Like some people you can really just tell, and then like with others, a lot of people are good at
Masking
hiding
the
things,
truth,
yeah,
yeah,
like
and that fake-
and just
that
making it
poker
seem
face
like
on.
because who was that? Like a lot of people didn't think was Kate Spade a suicide?
Yeah, Kate Spade,
Yeah,
He
like,
committed suicide.
you know,
Anthony Bourdain, I think his name. Anthony
Yeah,
Bourdain.
it's just you have these celebrities. I've had people that I've gone to school with who you would think are the happiest people ever, but you just never know what goes on behind closed doors and how they're able to just
It's
act
always
like
the happiest
nothing.
person, like the
yeah,
person who
act
makes
like
everybody else
nothing
laugh.
is going
It's
on.
always
Well, I
the
mean,
same.
like, look at Robin Williams. Like, we lost him, and I think it is kind of the happiest people, as you say, that, they go and you're like, oh my goodness, what happened? But maybe it comes down to us as kind of like a civic or moral responsibility just to check in on people every once in a while. We have all this social media. We're commenting on people's statuses, but when was the last time you called somebody and talked to them?
That's exactly why people say, don't, you never know. Your strongest friend might be going through
check
the
on your strong
toughest,
friend.
Situation right now. But that's the friend that you always, that think that everything is just like perfect, and
like they have their life together.
and they have so many things that's going on, and that's how my friends view me, as the strongest friend or whatever, and that I just never have. And so when they do check on me, it actually means a lot to me, because, it's almost to the point where I feel like, I don't feel suicidal, but I'm just like, everyone has that breaking point, and that point where they just want to cry. And that's usually my, my point,
I mean, I understand what you mean, because I have, between my circle of friends, we all know kind of sort of who we view as the strongest one. And we have to remind ourselves, like, we need to check in on them. Like, just because we think that they've got it all down, like, it is nice for people to check in. And sometimes you never know what anyone's going through. Nobody is invincible. Nobody does it alone. Everybody has a bad day. If you are human, you are going to have a bad day. And sometimes you need to be able to vent that. But a lot of people don't have that. Like you said, you felt like you're the strongest one of your friends. And maybe it's not because they don't love you, but they think, oh, she's strong. We don't need to check on her. She's got it. No, like, check on your friends, even if you think they're okay. If they're okay, fantastic. If not, they'll be really happy that you called, because sometimes you can't tell, and sometimes you can have an intervention. But a lot of the time,
but even it's not just friends, it's family as well.
Well,
like,
absolutely.
Family checks on you. That, because in his case, I'm not saying he didn't have any friends or anything like that, but how his family is like, he was loved and things of that nature. Well, of course they're gonna say that.
How true it is. Everybody's gonna say that now.
Yeah,
that
how
it
true
happens.
it is. I don't really know, but I guess. Okay, yeah, never mind. It just all depends on who you have in your corner, because it's just a lot of people who do commit suicide who don't really have that support that you think that they have.
You spoke on family, and that's another conversation, is having that conversation within your family. I know a lot of families don't like to deal with mental health issues, or maybe it's like something that's swept under the rug. You have to have that open communication. You have to have that conversation, so that when things happen, it might not be suicide, but it might be drugs, it might be addiction. Like, when these things happen, you need to be able to have that conversation, that open policy, to kind of head it off and say, hey, you are my son, you're my daughter, you're my uncle, whatever. I love you, and I see you headed for a fall here. Let's see how we can kind of dial this back and take some alternate steps. But if you're not having that conversation at home, what support system do you really have?
Well, I think it's a matter of the way we look at people and the way we view people. So let's use me as a case in point, being the guy here at the station that has the interns and so on and so forth. I feel like everybody's looking for a hero, in theory. Like, there's somebody, everybody's taught to get a mentor, everybody's taught to find somebody that's going where you want to go. But how often do we think about those mentors when they go home and it's nobody there? Like, with me, I see you guys Mondays, sometimes on Fridays. I have all these people I work with. And in most regards, I'm looked at as a leader. So when I go home, who do I talk to? Like, I can't talk to any of you guys. He was like, oh, well, Ricardo's not who I thought he was. He just called me getting ready to jump off a building. So then you decide, because leaders carry so many people. So if I were to call Darren and say, oh my God, in tears, and the first thing you would say is probably, Ricardo called me drunk. Like, you're not going to think, because of the way that you view me, you wouldn't think, okay, well, Ricardo's having a bad moment. You'd be like, oh my God, Ricardo's drunk. I don't know what the hell is going on. The reality is you probably wouldn't know what to do because you've never seen me in that light.
Right.
Well, see, something has happened to me like that before. Like, somebody who I'm not really like we're not that, like, the type of, it was strictly like a we had a group project together before, and like that was it. And for whatever reason, this girl just felt like, she called me and she was just like, Nikia, like, and I was like, I'm not gonna say her name, but she's like, I'm like, are you okay? Like, I asked her, I said, you been drinking or anything?
And
she was
that was
like,
your
yeah.
first?
Yeah, I was like, you been drinking or anything? She's like, no. She's like, I just really don't have anybody to talk to, and I just read. And for me, that was huge, because it's just like, this girl doesn't even know me from a can of paint like that. We've just done a group project together in school or whatever, and so for you to call me to, like, you know, and some of the things that she vented to me about or whatever. Some people just really need someone to listen to them.
And sometimes those strangers are the best people to vent to, and they give you like biased advice.
Yeah,
like you don't know me, but you're gonna give it to me.
Yeah,
real.
and ever since, like, we still, like, it, you know, it's nothing, but I just, like, you know, if you ever need to talk again, you know, like, just let me know. But I would never, you know, everything that she's ever, you know, what she did talk to me about that night or whatever, it's always stayed with me. That's none of my business to share anything like that. I really felt, but that's how I am in general. I really felt for her. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, you just never know what people are going through. Yeah. Because she was the last person who I would ever think to be calling me and, like, seriously, like, boo-hooing, like, just crying her life out to me.
That kind of, like, makes me wonder, and it goes back to what you were saying, Ricardo, because you are looked at kind of, sort of, I can tell, as a role model within your peer group, and we look to you, Ricardo, as a leader. So then, does that mean that those who are leaders, who are seen as strong, who are in leadership, is leadership the most vulnerable to feeling this type of way? And if so, how do we fix that?
Well, and then the other question becomes, we say, well, you should come talk to somebody. Are we really equipped to have a conversation with somebody we idolize and not either judge them or not know what to do? Are we really equipped for that? Because we say that all the time when somebody important, with Kate Spade, when she died, oh my God, I wish she would have spoken to somebody. She's running a multi-million-dollar corporation. If she called her down-home friend, would you really understand what she's going through? Would you really be able to advise her and say, this is what you should do, this, you know, you should do this, and you've never run a multi-million-dollar company.
Right.
So are we really set up? Because this is the stuff I hear people say this all the time. Even with this young man, it was, oh, well, you know, he could have reached out to me. He could have had a conversation with me. He did. He put up a post in June, this very long synopsis of what was going on.
Is that the only time he put up a post?
I don't know. Because like I said, I don't know the guy. I just know what was put up. And, you know, now I'm understanding the power of hashtags because they created a hashtag. So in that hashtag, people tagged all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that they tagged was this particular post. And I was like, immediately, I said, how did everybody miss this? Mm-hmm. And a lot of them, well, I just talked to you last week and so on and so forth. That was the first thing I looked at when I saw that in June. It was in June. We're only in August. So I'm like, how did we not really, like, but again, that the question became, are we really equipped to handle this kind of stuff? Especially when we start talking about African Americans and the fact that we don't like talking about mental health. So are we really equipped to handle these things if somebody who was suicidal came to talk to us about a situation? Like I said, going back to me, if I called any one of the interns, you guys are probably gonna fall to pieces because you're not prepared for that side of me. So are we really ready to have uncomfortable conversations about suicide and where people are mentally?
I don't.
I guess it just depends on you as a person.
Yeah,
I was an RA while I was in school, and I had a roommate come to me with a situation, and in RA training, they trained us to see clues. So I'm not putting any names out there just like you did, but it was a situation where he didn't have any friends. Like, I had classes with him, but yet I would never see him in class. But then I go to my room and I see him, and I'll be like, "Are you okay? You're good?" Because I'm your RA, and I just want to make sure that you're okay and you're having the best time here as you're supposed to. You're paying your money. So he would never come to class, and his response would be, "Oh no, it's nothing, man. I just don't feel like going there, or whatever." And it was one time I worked late. I got off at like 2:00 in the morning, coming back to the dorm room, and you guys know Jason, right? Like the Jason mask.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
There is no reason why you're in the living room with the Jason mask on Facebook Live, not saying anything.
That's what he was doing?
Phone to his face, just like this, with a Jason mask on, not saying anything. So the next day I asked him, I said, "Are you okay, man? You were good?" He's like, "Yeah, man, I was just doing it, whatever." Then another incident occurred where he cut off all his hair. I said, "What you cutting your hair off for?" "Oh, I can't afford to go to a barber."
Okay, well, I do that, so I can understand. I mean, I cut my own hair.
It's different,
it's
Ricardo.
I'm just saying, I just want to put it out there.
This is incident number 2. So I'm like, okay. No, actually, at this point, it's 3. You don't go to class. I see you by yourself all the time. You don't have any friends. And the 4th thing that like blew it off for me was he was buying fake Greek stuff. Like, he would just buy stuff and like wear it. And I was just like, I know he's not Greek. So
You talking about Divine Non-Greek?
Divine Non-Greek.
Oh, he's trying to get killed, clearly.
He would buy something and like walk around with it.
Did he hit the Capistrol at least once?
And you knew it was a cow, but I was just like, okay. this man really needs some help. So I went to my immediate supervisor, and we got this situated, and he went to counseling. And before that, I missed a thing. I had people coming up to me. I think it was his family member or something. She just walked up to me, and she was just like, hey, have you seen this guy named so-and-so? And I knew who she was talking about, but I was like, no, I haven't seen him. She's like, oh, we're just worried about him because he called my grandmother talking about, how he wants to hurt himself and stuff. And we're just trying to make sure he's okay. So at that point, while she's telling me this, I'm like, oh, I don't know who you're talking about, but I know exactly who she's talking about. And I just walked to my supervisor's office and said, hey, this is what I've seen. This is what somebody told me. And these are the steps and the clues that I've seen as far as suicide. And this is where I get involved. I don't do the approach like, okay, this is what I saw you do. We gonna get you some help. I just went to a resource, and they got him the help he needed.
So you go straight to management.
It was straight to management. But I made sure I was watching him at the same time. Like, okay, what he's cooking? Okay, I don't see any knives around. I don't see any pill bottles. So it's just like, in that incident, I paid attention, and I wouldn't say I helped, but I just did all I could do as a leader in that role and just prevented suicide.
But see, my question to you is, you were trained to do that as an RA at your university. If you had never been trained on that, would you have noticed as much?
I would have noticed it, but I wouldn't have reacted in the way that I did. It would have been something I probably would have brushed off my shoulder or something like, oh, I don't have time for it. So me being an RA and me being the type of person that I am, I just got involved because I love helping people, and that's what it was.
Like, I think that's kind of really important there, what you said, because I think a lot of the time we do brush it off, especially in this new culture of everything is, oh my goodness, I can't even, over dramatic. Like, we tend to overuse hyperboles a lot, and so when people are really hurt, we brush it off because we think, oh, they'll be fine tomorrow, they'll be fine next week.
And we live by this thing, like, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. That's what,
right,
Black community go through, and what we feel like we have to do.
Especially in the African American community.
We can't do that, If you need help, just talk to somebody.
Well, I guess the issue becomes with technology being the creme de la creme of our society. Everything seems to be built around social media or just the way we do things. The rules have changed, but have we changed to adjust with these new rules? Because even we're talking about this suicide thing. Okay, so now in offices, do we need to start having suicide classes where you're taught how to recognize when somebody's going through? Or do we need, because seems like
in the workplace?
Yeah, in the workplace. Is that something we need to start implementing, where we start doing suicide watch type classes where you're trained if a coworker is doing whatever, that you go to human resources. But then the question becomes, is human resources equipped to handle somebody who's suicidal?
I feel like they are, though. What? Suicide? I don't know.
That would be extra training, I would believe. And then that goes back to what you were saying, cost. Are companies willing to invest in these things? Because, everyone says, especially nowadays, you're working so hard for this company, and if you were to drop dead, they replace you in 2 weeks.
Which is reality.
So that's the reality. So in that reality, do companies really want to invest in their employees like that and to make sure that their employees are okay? And I think maybe a small select group of companies will. They probably even do already. But the majority, unfortunately, I don't think that they will.
Well, and this is the kind of scenario where nonprofits fill the gap. Because a nonprofit, and just a little throw out there, somebody who's wanting or desiring to start a nonprofit, here is a hole. So, there should the potential to start a nonprofit that does suicides. This new, what I would call new age suicide. Where, people are crying for help on social media, or because it's amazing how, especially a generation that's raised with technology, will base their worth off that technology. So a lot of these kids feel like, oh, if I don't have 15,000 followers on Instagram, I'm not important. This kind of mindset, this kind of ideology. In my day, if you, I don't even know how we deciphered if we were popular or not. I guess if the lunch lady gave you some extra pizza, you were popular. I can't remember how we did it in my day because
you got an extra slice.
If you got extra food in the cafeteria, you were important. Or if your teacher, teacher's pet, the teacher asked you to clean the erasers after school, you were somebody important. Now your self-worth is dictated by people you don't even know. People, if people aren't following you, or because I found myself doing it the other day. I was looking at my page and I was trying to decide on a business page, and I was like, some of my counterparts have 15,000 Instagram followers, and I was like, well, God, I don't barely even have 1,600. What do I need to be doing to get my numbers up? And then I did some more research and was like, okay, well, having that many Instagram followers is a combination of a lot of different things. They could have brought most of them. The eyes that are watching you on Instagram don't necessarily channel into money. So it's a variance of different things. But I would think like that. I wouldn't go, oh my God, I need to start stripping or, doing Instagram lives.
Way to get them followers.
Look,
I guess.
doing
Oh my
Instagram.
goodness.
You'd be amazed when I go down my mini feed on my Instagram, the number of outright, just blatant, sexually explicit things people do to get followers up. Because I actually started sending one of my friends a message like, you know what? If you actually did your little Instagram lives with a shirt on, how many people would actually watch? You should try that one day because people aren't listening to a thing that's coming out of your mouth. You work out every day, so of course you have a nice body. So people are not listening to anything that comes out of your mouth. They're just looking at you. Try putting on some clothes and see if you get the same reaction. Then we can talk about actual real life followers.
I feel like people like that are attention seekers. I mean, there are people who are all about fitness or whatever, and granted, they may not ever have on a shirt, but they're literally like, they're showing you like, this is how I, get this. It's not like just like
I know.
I'm sexy and I.
All right, but let's hold that thought because we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about suicide and hijacking planes and all that good stuff on Leadership Lane with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
You're listening to IBNX, IBNXradio.com. The station with the best music. Best music.
I love the music.
Best music.
Hey, what's up? It's Jay-Z.
Hey, I'm Mariah Carey. Hey, it's Katy Perry.
It's your boy T.I.P., man. Get in. It's your boy Sean Kingston.
What's up, y'all? I'm Beyonce. This is Nicki Minaj, and I'm in the mix with
IBNX Radio.
I can say that you're wonderful, but it doesn't seem good enough. I can say that you're kind, but that would miss the mark. I can say that you're beautiful, but to me you are so much more. How do I communicate exactly who you are? I'm trying to convey the sentiment of my heart and say I really do appreciate the way you brighten up my day. I can't find the words to describe you. It would take a million years. It would take a million years to explain the way I feel. You are the epitome. You are the epitome of everything I'll ever need. I'm so in awe of you. Lord, you leave me speechless. Now if I had more time, I would go down the line and name all the things that captivate my heart. But clearly I'm not aware of words that can compare. How do I communicate exactly who you are? I'm trying to convey the sentiments of my heart and say I really do appreciate the way you brighten up my day. Oh, I can't find the words to describe you. It would take a million years. It would take a million years to explain
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, and you're listening to IBNX Radio. All right, everybody, we are back on this Monday edition of the Leadership Blend with your host Ricardo D. Rice and the correspondents
Makia.
Darren.
Michelle.
All right, so when we left, we were talking about suicide, and we were talking about what it looks like and how it's changed the symptoms and how we recognize if somebody's actually suicidal. So when we left, we were saying, my question was, we always say when somebody passes, you know, oh, they should have called me or they should have reached out or I wish I would have known. But my question that I pose to the correspondents is, are we really equipped to handle the people? If somebody really called out to us and said, hey, I'm suicidal, I need help, are we really equipped to be able to be there for an individual? And we were talking about Kate Spade. You know, she's running a multi-million-dollar company. And if she were to call one of her hometown friends she went to high school with, would they really be able to advise her and talk her out of or make her reconsider taking her own life? So that's the question I posed on the table. If I were to call any one of you guys and say, hey, you know, I'm in tears and I couldn't handle going another day, would you guys be able to console me to the capacity that I would change my mind or reconsider taking my own life? So that's my question to you guys.
I would absolutely try my best. I believe that ultimately, unfortunately, suicide is a decision that you make. But if you can figure out a way to get someone into that headspace where maybe they reconsider, I think you've helped a tremendous amount. And, you know, you hear stories all the time of police officers, firefighters, even random citizens holding people so that they don't jump off of a bridge. And there are even stories of survivors with suicide where they're in the hospital and, you know, news crews interview them and they say, the minute I jumped, I instantly regretted it. I think suicide is just a heavy feeling, but if you can get someone like that to talk with you and get you down from that point, I think you've won at least half the battle there.
Other two, what do we think? Are we really equipped? If somebody said, hey, I'm going through... and you look at them as a mentor, what would you do if I were to call one of you guys? Like, what would you do?
Okay, so getting a call pretty much from someone I don't really know that well, I would just take everyone has family somewhere. You might not be close with them, but everyone has somebody who cares about them, even if it's not your family. So I would just do my best to calm you down. You don't necessarily have to tell me what the situation is, but when it comes to suicide, I mean, you're not happy with something. So I just try my best to just make you feel, like, hey, you're appreciated. You're meant to be here. It's a reason for everything. And I just try to coach you as best as I can on how to go on and go forward. Like, this is going to only make you stronger. Let's just get over it together. So that's my whole approach, just in general, regarding trying to calm somebody down from suicide.
And you've had a little bit of training with it, with you being an RA.
Correct. So it's just like, I'm used to I don't like the word strangers, but I'd say residents going through something, whether it's school, whether it's relationships, whether it's financial reasons, and they're just not happy with where they are at the moment. And that's okay. Everyone just wants somebody to listen to them. And I realize that, like, that's with anybody who's being difficult or thought about suicide or anything. Like, they just want somebody to listen. Something's going on. They're not happy, and just listen to them. So,
Makia, your thoughts?
Just like I said, how I handled the situation with my classmate. Just like I handled the situation with her, I think I would, try that same approach again because it worked for her. So, and I didn't ask her, what was going on. She, vented that to me, so if you want to vent, I'm the person for it, and I'm just gonna motivate you as much as I can to get off of that mindset, because a lot of us go into dark places. I go into dark places myself, but and this is only for some people. For myself, because I have my own spiritual beliefs, and that's how I get over my my situations, or I'm able to help other people and motivate other people because of my spiritual beliefs, and that's what holds me together. So if I can spread that, not telling them to believe in who I believe in or anything like that, but have some type of higher power, that you believe in, that that motivates you, or if you need me to call you and give you a word.
But then that brings us, especially because, like I said, this is really primarily an African American problem for us. Like, this is a real big issue. So I guess the next question becomes, is the demise, or the slow demise of organized religion, removing a failsafe? Because like you said, your faith is something that you could hang on to in a dark hour, but with the demise of the black church, or the demise of the perception of spiritual African American leaders, is that having an effect? Is that going to make things worse, in essence?
I don't believe so. And only because, yes, you have your higher power that you look to, but in ways, for me, that's spirituality. What you're speaking on, Makia, is spirituality. And for me, there's a difference between religion and having a spiritual connection with your higher power. With organized religion, especially in the African American community, I think that's the reason we're not having this conversation, because you'll go to your parents and say, oh, I feel this way, I really need help. And they'll say, oh, that ain't nothing but the devil, and stay on it, pray on it. And all these cliches that you hear in the church that you're used to hearing, but that you've heard them since you were younger than 7. You don't really know what they mean, but you know how you feel right now. And it's not helping you.
You don't need to hear, the last thing they need to hear is, well, if you kill yourself, you're going to hell.
Exactly.
Right.
It's things like that, like this organized religion that kind of puts a chokehold on the conversation for mental stability and for mental health, especially within the black household, because you either have an attitude and you need to go to your room, or you're going to get a butt whooping, or you just need to pray some more. And those are not viable solutions when you feel this way. So I think with the demise of organized religion within that factor, I think it's actually going to be really helpful into maybe the family finally sitting down and saying, okay, this is real. These issues are relevant. This is what my child is going through. And it's hard. I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine that it's hard to face the fact that, yes, your child, your niece, your nephew is going through this, but it's necessary. If you love them and you want to get them help, it's necessary to be able to go past your own ego and say, okay, what can I do to help them?
But how do we decide? How do we keep from, I guess the question becomes, how do we keep from overreacting? Because, when you're fighting with a generation that is constantly seeking to get more and more attention, how do we keep from overreacting? Because, and playing devil's advocate in the situation with the young guy that died from his June post, what if he'd been posting that for the last 3 years? So it kind of became he's been crying wolf for 3 years. Yeah. So how do we keep from overreacting?
What do you mean by like overreacting? Like what?
Like I said, the post that I saw, because that's it. I don't know him. That was the first I had seen. Mm-hmm. But let's say his friends, he's been posting stuff like that for 3 years. Mm-hmm. So at this point, they're kind of acclimated to it, and they're like, okay, well, we didn't think anything of it because he's been posting those kind of posts for 3 years and nothing's ever happened.
Well, here's the thing is that can happen. You can have people who will post that all the time and nothing happens. You can have people who will post that once and you never see them again. My belief is that every time it's real. And people, that's why it's a struggle with these things like depression and other mental health issues that lead you towards suicide. It's always real each and every time that you reach out there. But thank God most of the time you're able to kind of talk your own self down from that, or you're able to text the suicide text line, or you're able to call the suicide hotline and kind of get yourself down from that. But it's a struggle because one day you may not be able to. One day you may not, I don't know, I've had close friends who have struggled with this. I've spoken with people, and they've always described it as fighting yourself, but it's kind of a terrifying battle because it's a silent one, and one day you don't know if you'll win.
Well, to answer your question, for me, I believe that if you just if he was posting that stuff for 3 years, he never did it. So they're like, but the thing is, I feel like people to eliminate things like this from happening, or to try to grab a hold on to it. If you see your friend, talking like this, or you knew, something of it, or it's like, why is dude, talking like this, or why wouldn't you, go ahead and, try to, I don't know what they did, if anything, to try to prevented though, within these 3 years or whatever. But a person like that, they're still talking about 3 years later. You still need to be constantly checking on them or seeking help for that person.
Exactly.
If they're talking about it, I just feel like if a person, regardless if it's mildly, if it's me going to one of my friends and I'm talking to them about suicide, take me serious. Just because you don't know whether I'm planning. I'm gonna always take somebody who was talking to me about something like that. See if they're feeling like just so down about themselves, and I just feel like it's kind of a common sense thing. What would you do? And that even if you don't if you're a person who normally talks down in that sense, or it like how you are now, and then you're like, man, I just feel like giving up or whatever. It doesn't matter which one. If he was if he seemed regular to me and or happy to me all the time, and one day he decides to talk about suicide, or if I see him every day and he's like well today I'm feeling like this, and it's still like down. Either way it goes, I'm saying take it serious. It doesn't matter if it was 3 years. It doesn't matter if it was a day. You take it serious.
That's what I'm saying, because I think a lot of people believe that this is a one-time conversation. You felt really bad that day. I had this one-time conversation with you. You're good. This is an ongoing conversation, and sometimes it's going to take multiple conversations, but check in every time. And of course, yes, you need to take care of yourself because you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you can't, then take some time for you, but make sure that every time you see it, or at least as many times as you can, have that reoccurring conversation with them. Because a lot of people who struggle with these things, they may have anxiety as well and believe that, oh, well, nobody's checking in anymore because they're all tired of me. They may just constantly be struggling with this and maybe writing about it and posting it online, because we are in that technological age now. Is their way of venting it out and kind of their way of healing themselves and talking their own self down. Or you never know, it's different factors, but it's not a one-time thing. Like you said, every time you have to take it seriously.
So I got a question. So let's say you post something on Facebook and be like, oh, I'm going through it, I'm going to possibly think about committing suicide. Me, someone who's going through something, when I look at that, I might be thinking about the exact same thing. However, I'm choosing to do it differently. I'm not wanting to post it on social media. So how does someone like myself calm you down when I'm thinking about the exact same thing? I'm only saying that in reference of everyone on social media, I'm sure is going through something. So how do you pay attention to that one person who's venting on a social media status? Like, how do I know that you're actually going through something, and how do I know to take you serious? Because I'm going through the same thing, and I can take you serious because I'm doing it differently than you are.
But
so in this question, who's doing it the right way?
It's not a right way. There's no right or wrong way. Just in general, how people do things differently. People handle situations differently in general, not just suicide.
So do I calm you down?
Well, no, that's what I was saying. You can't pour from an empty cup, so you need to take care of yourself. There will be other people
who aren't going through that, who will motivate them. So you'll
be able to do that. Okay. But it's funny that you pulled that up, because in a lot of studies with suicide, the person you described, are the most dangerous people that you need to look for, because they're very happy and there are no signs. And well, I won't say there are no signs, but they're very
I wouldn't say me personally.
No, not you. I mean,
like, Darren,
the person you hypothetically
something?
described.
Tell us something?
No. The person you hypothetically described, the one who doesn't say anything and just goes, because they will, they're always on time for work, and then one day they're just not at work. Or maybe a week leading up to that, they give away something that, they have like a prize collection and they gave it away.
Yeah.
Like it's things like that, to where it's odd, it's out of their character, and then suddenly they're just not there anymore. So there are little things that you have to look for, but it's almost better if you reach out and you vent social media wise. People can kind of, keep a heading on it, but it's a lot harder for people like that who don't feel like they want to tell anyone, who just
Another
go.
question, I don't mean to interrupt, but so in like the African American community, we're not helping each other get to where we want to go. So do you think, as far as like how we were raised, how we go about life and things is different than other ethnic groups? Because, I mean, I've just seen it differently. Like, you comment something on Susie's post, and again, I'm not trying to be, that type of way. But everybody, like 10 people will come in on her status and be like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? But then you go to, Lakeisha, and only her best friend, baby daddy, is coming on her stuff, and it's only to try to get into her,
I think it
Here's
just
my
depends
thing.
because I've seen both.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it go both ways, and just not too long ago, some girl posted something, and then she just had and it was an African American.
Okay.
She was an African American young girl, and she's like, I think this is it, and she was like, I swear I don't want to be here anymore, and she had so many people commenting, of
So at that point, is she doing it for attention? Like, is she just trying to feel like, okay, I need somebody to pay attention to me? Like, out of all those comments, who said, I'm on my way? I'm finna call you.
True.
Like,
I didn't
who
read the
said-
comments.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
How you gonna bring it up?
She
But
said-
didn't read the comments.
I ain't
so
get
I'm
too
just
deep
like,
in it now.
who
I didn't read
actually
the comments.
helped? Because if you're actually going through something,
I didn't read the comments because I was like we said, we all have our own issue. And that day, my issues
Which
were
pause.
hitting
All right,
me.
pause, because I was getting ready to segue there. All right, pause, because we're talking in theory.
Right.
Let's talk about everyday life. So, because this is where I feel like social economic status has a hand in this.
It does.
Because if I work 3 jobs and you work 2, we don't see each other anyway. So we kind of have a passing familiarity with each other. I may, sweep on your Facebook. You may sweep on mine. But we're both working 3 and 4 jobs trying to make ends meet. So let's factor in some kids.
Okay.
You have 2 kids. I have 1 child. We're working 2 and 3 jobs. We see each other in passing. We're saying hey. We're saying bye. You text me and go, man, I'm really not feeling it. I really think I'm going to end it. You probably going to be like, you probably at work. Bruh, you have to get it together. Because, we trying to do this thing together. We trying to get this music thing going. You have to get it together. And you keep going. And you don't think anything else about it because your everyday life is moving you in 50 different directions. That's people's reality. So we're talking in theory. Oh, they should call me and blah, blah, blah. If they call you and you're in the middle of your second job and you just worked a 12-hour shift and you're just trying to get through your day, can you really advise them and help them?
exactly.
Because people's socioeconomic status has a lot to do with it, especially when we start talking about African Americans. A lot of them are working 2 and 3 jobs. A lot of them are just trying to make ends meet. So do we really have time, and I'm just playing devil's advocate, do we really have time to stop what we're doing in the middle of a day because a friend calls us and says, I'm getting ready to commit suicide?
Well, no, not in the middle of the day. Like, you don't drop.
Well, they can't decide. They can't decide when they're going to say, I'm going to commit suicide.
I mean, but you have no control over that anyway. That, like I said, that is a choice that they make. But what you can do is when you get off of work, talking about socioeconomic status, you have a lot of time while you're waiting for that MARTA bus to maybe call them, text them, and see what's going on. You have a lot of time while you're waiting on the blue line or the yellow line to wherever you're going to call them and text them and catch up. Like, there are pockets within the day.
Yeah, but that's the opposite of what you said earlier. Y'all was like, oh my God, if I see these signs, I'm going to reach out to them right there. But you just said, well, we in a pocket of a day,
No,
I'll check on them.
I said reach out to them. I didn't say right then and there because sometimes you might not be able to. But definitely,
It's a life. Y'all just said that a life is important.
All of us at some point either know someone or know someone who knows someone that have gone through, a very maybe not suicidal. Because I know I don't know if any of you know anybody who's been, suicidal, or someone who knows somebody who's been suicidal, but you're aware of a situation that's close in close relations to your life. If it's not you, it's someone else. My point in saying that is if you're at if you're at work or something, like you were saying, if you're at work and somebody one of my close friends call me, or someone who's in my contacts call me and says, Makia, I'm feeling suicidal, blah, blah, blah. I feel like, I'm the type of person, I'm going to be like, what I'm going to, even if I'm at work, my boss should understand that just because, you just never know. Suicide is just, my thing, it's not anything to play with. You don't know if they're playing or not. You don't know how.
So it's just like that phone call you get at work when when somebody from jail call you, or your mama get in a car accident.
If I'm able to answer it, and then if that's the topic, we're about to go ahead and handle this right now, because it will be on my conscience that I was not able to be there for that person because they decided to call me. I'm the person who they decided maybe Makia can be the one that will, help me calm down from this rage that I'm feeling.
So you
or
feel
whatever.
like if you have the ability to stand in the gap for that person and you don't take it, you feel
like I'm saying, if I'm at work, his thing is if you're at work or whatever you're doing, you know how we're so busy out the day. But if I get that phone call or if I decide to call back, like, you know, right afterwards, because my phone is always on do not disturb, but I always call right
Well,
back.
then nobody can call.
No,
you,
but
so-
look, but I always call right back because I see it right after they call, so I always call right back.
and your boss might not understand, but you can take that 5-minute break and call somebody and say, hey, what's going on?
Yes, but see, that's my thing. Like, if I'm asking what's going on and that's the topic or whatever, I'm gonna tell my boss. Just because, like, if it were him, her, whoever I'm working for or whatever, if it were them in that situation, what would, I don't know what they would do, but I would hope that they wouldn't be so heartless to not think, let me check on this person and let me see if I could calm them down. But if I gotta go, because nobody's about to die on my watch.
That's why I said take that 5-minute break, because some bosses do not care. Some bosses are like, you are here to do a job.
Right,
and
like
you
think
do
about
it well.
like when you're serving. Like, can you really leave your tables unattended to go take a phone
right,
call?
like, so some bosses don't care, but like I said, when you get that break,
though. If
but
I'm
that's still the job.
serving, but no, look, if I'm serving though, usually my phone, I'm always going to take care of what I have to take care of first. Like if I'm doing the order stuff, so of course I'm not going to hear my phone because your phone's not supposed to be on in the first place.
Yeah, you're right.
But if I go to the back, which I always do, and check my phone, you know what I'm saying? Because I got people who depend on me.
But
so if I go to the back and I see that somebody called me, I'm gonna see what they what is it that they want, even if I shoot a text or something.
You're kind of bringing up an excellent point, though, that I want to bring up before we go for the 1 o'clock hour. The fact that I noticed you and I finding all of these different ways to kind of communicate speaks to me, because I just looked up a couple facts about suicide in the U.S., and it says that men are 3.5 times more likely to die by suicide than women. Because we will reach out, because I think just as a society, women are trained to be more vocal and maybe more empathic and sympathetic.
Carry so much stuff on
they
their
do,
shoulders.
but they feel as though they're not allowed to express it, and I think that's really hurting men.
I really hate that.
I don't
really
like
do.
it. Like, you guys, I don't know, maybe not you guys personally, but I feel like a lot of men.
But pause though, because then we go back to my situation. Me being the leader. Who can I really call? Even the females.
Yes, you could call me.
You can
because we had this conversation. But before we had this conversation, had I called you in tears, what would you have done?
I told you I would ask. Have you been drinking?
Yeah, but I can see the look on your face, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is Ricardo on the phone. Calling me right now. I don't know what to really do.
Here's a better question. Before we had the conversation. Would you have called between your interns? Would you have chosen a girl or a boy to call?
At that point, does it matter?
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say at that point I wouldn't be thinking about that.
Because I feel like it's harder for men to express how they are feeling, and especially for men to do that to other men, which is why you guys are 3.5 times more likely to die by suicide than women.
Well, but that's a combination of things. So I think that's a matter of you still getting into men running society in theory. Like that's the way it's always been.
Not
like
running
men are in
society.
charge.
No, not even running society. Just being raised in a way where you are made to believe that you have to be stronger, basically, or that you have to be a certain way, like have a certain machismo or bravado or whatever that doesn't allow room for you expressing your feelings in a healthy manner.
True, but I think that's two-sided. So let me ask the question to you two females. I want you to be honest when you answer this. Let's say you're on a plane and the pilot, you have one female, one male pilot, and the plane starts going down. Are you going to feel more comfortable with another female or a guy being in charge? Off instinct. Like if you walk in let's go this way. If you walk in a room and you're looking for the CEO of a company, are you typically looking for a male or a female? Honestly, flat out, if you walk in a room. Flat out. Just if you walk in a room and you see a man in a suit and you see female in a dress and you're looking for the CEO of Coke, who are you really looking for? Are you looking for a man or a woman? Be honest.
Looking for a man.
There lies in my point. And we always talk about the glass ceiling all the time. There are a lot of positions that women just haven't acclimated to, not because they don't have the skill set, it's because it's the boy club. So again, it takes me back to my point. It's two-sided.
Society won't let us.
And again, I'm not discrediting the fact that women cannot run the world. But I'm just saying, are they going to be allowed to
But
run
we
the
do,
world
though.
becomes the question.
But
Are
we
they
do,
going to be
though.
allowed to run the world?
But we do,
Outright, you're right. And
You
behind
run-
every
y'all
man there
run
is a
the
good
world
woman.
beside us.
But
Like, we already do. I don't understand the
outright,
question.
are women actually going to be allowed to run the world? Outright.
I said
One
that I would
day.
look for a man because I have been trained growing up. I think everyone has been trained growing up to look for men in positions of power. So you asked me to be honest, and off of what I've been conditioned to look for, I would look for a man.
I mean, I'm not asking why. I'm just saying, what is your instinctive look? You're going to look for a man.
But then again, that depends. That depends
Let's
on the
be
company.
honest.
No,
Because if you sent me into an interview with Cosmopolitan, I would look for a woman.
all
Well, yeah,
of
but I
mine
mean-
have been mostly women.
All of your what?
All of my like anybody who's CEO of whatever whoever I've been. I've literally only had like maybe I think only like one male.
Okay, but how many
No, two,
how many
two.
bosses are we talking about? Because you only, what, 23, 24?
Well, okay, it was two.
Exactly.
Two.
Like, how long is your work history, though? Like, how many jobs have you had?
We're getting all into her business right now.
I
Well,
had
I'm,
a-
because I'm trying to show
trying to
that.
prove a point
I'm trying to
right
prove a point. Like, you having 2 male bosses, but you've only had 4 jobs. I mean, then.
No, I had more than 4 jobs.
And I'd like to edit
But
my answer.
most of them have been. That's what I'm saying. It's been more women than there were.
What type of jobs did you have?
Yeah.
retail between like
Okay.
And, yeah, then
retail.
that's retail
Okay.
is going to
So-
be. It's,
I'd like
it's
to
a-
edit my answer by saying that I do my research before I go into an interview. So I would probably be looking for the correct person because
Hey,
I do,
look,
because I do my
we're
research.
not going to.
before
You
I go
know,
into
you know
an
exactly what I
interview
was saying. The
because
point
I'm on
is
point.
that oftentimes males are in high positions of power. So calling down to a subordinate for help is just not likely. I'm not going to call my floor supervisor if I'm a GM or if I'm the VP of operations. I'm not going to call a floor
But that
supervisor.
leads back to my question: you're a man in a position of power. Where does leadership turn to when leadership needs help? Because nobody does it
leadership.
alone and everybody needs help. So where do you turn to? What is the solution to making sure leadership is not so vulnerable to this issue?
Well, that's the basis of the conversation. Again, the reason I'm having this conversation today is because I'm this suicide thing is not a fad anymore. It's something that continuously is happening. And watching it from the side, because I've done it. Like, I've literally had my nonprofit, and one of my kids called me at 2 o'clock in the morning, was like, I have a knife. I'm getting ready to slit my wrist. And they were in a group chat. And everybody was just kind of like, oh, well, don't do it, blah, blah, blah. I put on clothes at 2 o'clock in the morning and drove to Dunwoody from Marietta. And she was literally in the dark with a knife, getting ready to slit her wrist. But everybody was just kind of like, oh, we're praying for you. Don't worry about it. I was like, no, she's serious. I'm going now. So I put it on the table because I want to pose this question to people who've had suicide friends and so on and so forth. Are you really willing to stop what you're doing to go tend to somebody who's committing suicide?
Nope.
Because it sounds nice to say, oh, well, I didn't know. They should have called me if they'd have reached out. Had they reached out to you in the middle of a work day, were you really willing to leave work to go check on them? Let's be honest about this.
Yes.
I am.
You're not the status quo, and neither are you. Let's be honest about this. Are you really willing to stop what you're doing in the middle of a day to go check on a friend who told you I have a knife or a razor at my wrist at this very moment? Let's be honest. We need to start being honest about it.
Yes, I watch
Yes.
too much. I watch too much TV, whether it's Lifetime or if it's real, like the what is that show called? 48 Hours, whatever. I don't know.
True
but
TV, all
yeah,
of it.
I watch too much television.
Well,
So
My
what-
thing-
So it was a good show, and I love watching. I can't wait till it comes back on. Called Being Mary Jane. And do you guys
That's
remember?
not,
Oh,
first of all, it's not coming back on, so stop.
It's
watching.
No,
It's canceled.
It's canceled.
But I
my
thought they
girl
had like a
Gabby.
movie, like
Yeah.
a movie. To find.
When they say that there may be a movie to end it, that probably means it's not going to.
That's
oh
just
wow!
like
well, she got
closure
proposed.
for
To. It
us.
was a good. It was a good ending. Or she got proposed to.
And plus, there are outside variables in that because the people that wrote that show left to go to Netflix for a major deal, and there are other outside variables. That's
So
not
let's just pay attention to the thing. Okay, when Lisa died, so that wasn't Lisa. You guys know who Lisa is?
I don't know.
I actually
who
watched
Lisa
it.
is.
That was the one season I did watch, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Oh, Lisa, who worked with her,
Yeah.
Well, she
Right.
didn't work. No, they didn't work together. You talking about
not her
boss.
best friend.
Her best friend is Lisa, who is a doctor.
Yeah.
So Lisa
never knew Lisa.
she tried to commit suicide one time, and Mary Jane literally, I think she was at work, but she left work, broke into Lisa's house. I'm talking about like smashed and like got her hair like
Oh, I remember
bleeding
that.
and everything, and like went upstairs to take care of Lisa, and she saved her. But the second time, like Lisa called her. It was an incident with her lover and Lisa and all that type of stuff. So Mary Jane was like, at this moment, she was just upset. Like, she just wanted a break from herself. She was tired, like, from work, her parents, her nieces. Like, she was just tired. Then now her best friend, she was just tired. So at that point, Lisa was reaching out to her like, hey, like, come on, call me. And the moment she decided to be careless is when Lisa decided to be, I'm not going to use the word selfish or whatever, but Lisa's tendency is to commit suicide. That's when Lisa decided to take a shower, eat by herself, and she ended up taking a lot of pills and killing herself. And Mary Jane felt awful afterwards. Well, so in a moment like that, when your best friend does something to you so tragic to where you just like, okay, I love you, but I need a break. I am tired. I'm tired of saving you. I'm tired of saving everybody around me. I need a break. Well, and at that moment, when they reach out, am I wrong for not reaching back out because now they're trying to play the suicide card again?
Well, see, it depends. No. Because no, you're not wrong. But it also depends as well because my main thing is when I have talked to people, I want to make sure I am not the only one who, they can talk to. Because if I'm the only one I can talk to, that's going to put me under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but you can't tell them you need to talk to somebody else. You can't
say that. No, I don't tell them that. I ask them.
And if they say no?
If they say no, then I'm like, that's when I do the whole, okay, I'm going to have, like, I will literally get someone who is a professional in that area, which I would say is my grandmother, honestly, but like because that's what she did or whatever. I would get her because that's what she's known for, to call that person because she can handle it better. That's what she went to school. That's her profession.
Okay, let me ask a question on that note. All right, on this panel, were most of you raised in a 2-parent household?
No.
Single parent?
Yes.
I was raised by my grandmother.
Was it a village though? Aunts, uncles, grandparents for the most part?
No.
I mean, I was raised not together, but like my dad stayed across town, my mom stayed up here, so I like had the best of both worlds.
No.
So it was just your mom?
Mom.
No family, no extended family.
My mom, my brother, and I.
Just my grandmother. But my mom and dad are a lot. But my grandmother took care of me. My grandmother took care of me since I was in elementary school.
I had a good life. I'm sorry.
And
it's not saying that.
Don't apologize. No, you're fine.
No, because again, I'm trying
to show all the dynamics. That's not saying my life wasn't good. My grandmother gave me everything. No,
that wasn't what I was trying to do. I was trying to, because in the black community, the family dynamic is so different now. Like in the old days, when I grew up, there was 5 houses. We were in the suburbs, so Lennis and Joe were here, Pat and Marky were here, Wendy and Maria were here, my parents were here, so it really was a village. We had fathers who filled in. It was like that. Nowadays, that's not a lot of people's realities. It's just single mothers who you don't really see because they happen to work so much to provide for their kids. So these kids are kind of left to the devices of anybody that's around or a TV. So, to say, what they can do, they should be able to call this person or call that person. They're not going to be comfortable calling anybody because, in essence, they kind of raise themselves. So they don't know. A lot of them don't know how to reach out to anybody because they've never had that luxury going into adulthood. So imagine a 5-year-old who very rarely gets to see his mom because she's working, and it's no knock at her because that's what she's got to do. But in the meantime, there's no uncle, there's no aunt, there's no grandparents to fill the gap. So all he knows is daycare workers who probably don't care about him, teachers who have so many kids in their classrooms they can't pay attention to him, and he goes through life until he gets to adulthood with all these broken relationships. So now you're telling him, well, I know you're suicidal, but you got to communicate. Well, I don't know how to communicate because I've never had that luxury, and he's an adult now.
I won't exactly agree on that because...
Well, I mean, I'm just throwing a scenario out there. I'm just saying...
That is a scenario, but I think absolutely you will grow to create friendships and support systems.
How? If you don't know how to build those relationships?
The same way...
I just think it depends because I could have ended up that way, but I did not.
Right. Like, everybody's experience is different, and you make friends. Like, just in my own personal experience... You tend to make friends with the people who have gone through the same struggles as you, and then you tend to relate to a lot of things that they talk about. So maybe you don't have anyone at home to talk with, but you catch that school bus and you go to school in the morning, and there's a support system around you, and then you get their number, and then you get their email address.
But let's flip this. All right, so I'm going to pose this to Darren because, again, we're talking about girls and guys, and like y'all said, y'all are raised empathically to have that level of compassion. For guys, is that our reality?
Depends on the guy.
Well, of course. I mean, we're not. I'm not. This is a generalized thing, but of course it depends on the individual. But as a whole, and again, I'll use myself as an example. Going to high school, I'm not a jock. I'm not an athlete, and it took me a long time to figure out where I fit in. So, and I told somebody this the other day when I was looking at my high school pictures from grad night. You see me with a bunch of different cliques because I never fit into one clique. So looking back on it,
that's how I am now.
I could have committed suicide. And I mean, people knew who I was because of my parents. But individually, I never fit in with anybody. So I was always the child that, even in college, I was always that child that'd be going somewhere else, do something else. I'll take a trip with you. We may ride there together. But I promise you, when we get where we're going, I already got a whole nother plan because I don't fit in with any of these cliques. That's even when I was in at the technical school.
Got a whole nother plan.
Even when we went to when I was at tech school, like we would take trips with student support services. And I remember one time we went to Washington. I had a whole nother game plan. I was like, yeah, I'm riding with you guys, but I don't really click with any of y'all. So I'm gonna go with you guys and I'll play the part. But when we get to the hotel, you're not gonna see me until Sunday when it's time to go back, or when we have to check in. I was that child. But back then, you could do that kind of stuff because people weren't crazy.
Well,
now having a child like that.
That was me as well. I had my friends, but I wanted to have an understanding even up until I was in college. Like some of my friends got mad because they're like, "Oh, you didn't come with us." I'm like, "Girl, how old are we? I do not have to." You know what I'm saying? I have so many other things that I have done. Like I was a competitive gymnast, so I had friends on the gymnastics team. I cheered.
But I
didn't do that.
But I think that was the point. Like, and I kind of agree with Ricardo, which is why, like Makia, you and I were saying earlier, it's really scary, like for men, because I don't know how you guys socialize. I don't know, even if you are a jock and you are the athlete and you hanging out with the football team or the soccer team or lacrosse team, whatever it is, do you really feel like you have that bro that you could go home to and be like, yo, bro, I'm really going through some stuff? Do you feel like you have that? Are you guys even socialized to have that? Like,
I feel like
what
it
is
depends
your
on how
communication
the man
outlet?
was raised.
No,
too,
I don't know because again.
No, look, it does because my friend, him, who is a guy, he was raised by his mother, and like we were really, 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 really close. He was raised by his mother, and then I have my best friend and he was raised by both of his parents or whatever. Very, in a very good life. Very structured, very, never really, doesn't really know the meaning of the struggle or whatever. But his struggle is different from my struggle. So
the difference in the struggle.
Yeah. So
only got $100
with that
on
being
my account.
With that being said, like both of them though, as far as emotion wise, the other one who was just raised by his mom, he's more so like he keeps so many things, and my little brother keeps so many things bottled up inside that it scares me. But he's like one of the nicest and most loving people that you will ever meet. And but he keeps so many things. He's like, man, I don't really think that. He's like, I don't have anybody right now. But the thing is, he does. I'm like,
I guess he doesn't have anybody that he could relate to and talk to about like.
He does. That's my thing. He does though, but he just feels like he does not.
Yeah, but because you're on the outside looking in, it seems like he may have it all. But when he goes home, you don't know that. On the outside looking in, me and my parents are like this. But growing up, I couldn't really talk to my dad like that because we didn't have common interests. Like my dad he felt like I should be this way or I should do these things because I'm a boy. Those are not my interests. Mm-hmm. So we couldn't really communicate. And it wasn't until I became an adult that me and my dad became closer. Like now we're really close. But growing up, and he didn't understand because I was a different type of child. I was a different type of boy. So you can't put a football in my arm and tell me to go outside and play with the neighborhood boys. I'm probably going to go play with the girls because I don't have anything in common with these boys.
And that's the thing I'm talking about, like the way boys are kind of socialized to grow up. What is the communication outlet? Because that's really scary. And I'm looking at these statistics here, and I mean, 3.5 times more likely. That's got to be a conversation that needs to open up kind of in the masculine world of how you guys are going to begin to mend that and how you guys are going to be able to communicate and be more open and realize that you're a human being. You have emotions. Emotions is not a female trait. It is male and female. You have emotions. You cannot bottle up everything inside. That bottle is going to break eventually. What do you do to combat that?
All right, so on that note, we're going to take our second break, and when we come back, we're going to look more into the real world of suicide and some other little fun things. So stick around to Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.
Never knew my life could be this way. I never knew the sun could shine all day. Never thought I'd live beyond my past until I found Jesus. I never thought I'd be in this place. Oh, I'm glad, so glad I'm living my life in this place. Ooh, I never knew my heart would feel again. You see, I was so hurt, never knew the pain. Let me stand. Never thought the tears would go away. Never thought my tears would go away. Until I found you, Jesus. I never thought I'd be right here in this place. Oh, I'm so glad. Yes, I am. I'm living my life. Oh, Lord. There's a place in God where we can all be free. A place where God can get the best out of me. There's a secret place in God where He covers me. Oh, I am so glad. Yes, I am. I'm living my life. Yes, I'm so glad. I'm living my life. Oh, been a lot of places, seen a lot of faces, but I've never been in this place. Time and time again, I never thought I'd win. Oh, Lord, been a lot of places, seen a lot of people. Oh, Lord, been in this place, time and time again, never thought I'd win. I've been around the world, seen a lot of people, but I never thought I'd be here. I am amazed that I'm in this place. I never thought I would be in the arms of Jesus. It's a good place to be in, y'all.
may think that it's over, that your life is done.
The best
oh my,
is yet to come.
Don't sweat the challenge. Your battle's already won. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's yet to come.
Listen, y'all. See, God writes the end before the story began. Oh, he told me to tell you the best.
It's yet to come.
As the author of your faith, he wrote a provision for you to win. You're a winner, you're a winner, you're a winner. Yeah.
You ain't seen your best days yet.
You ain't seen your best days yet.
You ain't seen your best days yet.
I don't care what people told you, you ain't seen no
You ain't seen your best days.
Oh, well, sister,
you ain't seen your best days yet.
Stay in the word, my brother, my brother, my brother, my brother.
Seen your best days.
Trust in no one.
You ain't seen your best days yet.
Would you deposit this word in your heart?
You ain't seen your best days yet.
No, it's not too late for you to start. I want to encourage you. I just want to encourage you. You ain't seen your best days yet.
You ain't seen your best days yet.
Get away from negative words. Get away from negative people. Hear God speak to you. The best. The best. The best. Do you hear me? Oh, no. Oh, you're gonna run and not be weary. You're gonna walk and not faint. Oh, the best is on the way. I see you, eagle. I see you flying high. Ooh, you ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. You ain't seen nothing. I know you may think that you have, but God told me to tell you, you gotta keep on fighting, keep on praying. You ain't seen nothing yet. No. You ain't seen your best days yet. It's greater. It's stronger. It's gonna come. Thank you, Jesus. It's yet.
Greater is the ending of a thing than its beginning.
I know, yeah. It's yet to come.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, where we're simplifying your leadership. All right, we are back on today's episode of the Leadership Blend with the host Ricardo D. Rice and the correspondents.
Makia.
Darren.
Michelle.
All right, so when we left let me just say this. I had not planned on this segment being this long, but the reality is I'm glad it did, because these are the kind of conversations and the way these conversations have got to start being. You know, people do not decide to commit suicide at your lunchtime or on your convenience. People will get to a dark place at any given moment, at any given time. And until we stop saying, oh, I wish they'd have reached out to me, and actually look at it like, if they reached out to me in the middle of the day, am I really going to stop what I'm doing? Am I going to leave work to go tend to my friend who's telling me he's getting ready to slit his wrist? And that's the reality of it. And a lot of us cannot say that we're able or willing to do that. So until we can get to that place and have a real conversation about it, it's going to continue to be a problem, because it's no longer a fad. It's happening too frequently to be a fad. So we got to change the way we do things. And when we left, we were talking about male versus females, lines of communication and what that actually looks like. So I think we left, Michelle was in the middle of a thought. Do you remember that thought?
The ways that men are socialized and trained up to communicate, and how that's going to get better, and the steps that we can take as a society to make sure that men feel more free to express their emotions, because you have them, you're human.
And that sounds nice in theory, but in practice, you know, what do you do? And again, I'll go to the single mother aspect, because that is becoming more of a reality. How do you train a boy how to be a boy if you're not tough on him?
All right, that's why every boy needs his father. That's why
But
absolutely.
There's being tough, and then there's being unrealistic. Like, I'm sure we've all been to family events, or maybe just in a doctor's waiting room, and you've seen like a male baby crying, and you've seen like an adult tell a male baby to stop crying just off of the basis that they're a male. It's a baby. They're going to cry. But we don't do that to baby girls. Like, we'll let them cry and we'll coddle them. Like, no, like, that male baby needs to cry just the same way that that female baby needs to cry. But I think there's gender policing on both sides, and it hurts all sides. But right now we're talking about the ways that it hurts men, which is you guys don't feel free to express your emotions. And it's not just that you need to be tough. Everyone needs to be tough in this world. You need to kind of buck up, because there are things you're going to face. But expressing your emotions in a healthy way is a part of that, not just swallowing them and shoving them down because men don't cry. Men absolutely do cry. There are going to be things in life that are going to make you want to cry, and that's okay. But right now as a society, we don't feel like it's okay. And that's the problem.
Yeah, but how are you going to change the narrative on male versus female in society? Because that's always been the narrative, that men, you know, we can't. And again, every time you say this, I'm going to bring up a scenario to show what it is. So would you want a male boss who is constantly in tears or soft at your job? Would you want that?
No, the same way I wouldn't want a female boss who is constantly in tears and soft at my job. I need to trust you in leadership.
That's the problem. That's the problem. When we say, you know, be able to express yourself, we don't mean be soft or anything like that.
Exactly, and
like,
that is the issue.
Yeah,
like, people hear emotions and think soft.
That's not what it is.
Emotions are healthy, not soft.
I consider myself to be a very firm person. So
it's true. She bullies us in the intern room.
No, she's good. She's good.
I say, like, you know, guys in general are known to be firm. You know, firm.
They're the providers.
Right. And but the thing is, like, you know, just like in a single mother, you know, in her household or whatever, I just feel like, and there are single dads out there as well, I just feel like, you know, men should not, just because you are looked at as the provider and the person that's supposed to do this, that, and the third, I do not see anything wrong with a man expressing, you know, if he's in a dark place, and like I said, one of my friends is in a dark place right now, and I swear I'm trying to pull him out. And this is a different kind of, it's not like a suicide. I don't know what it is, to be honest. I don't know what it is that he is going through.
But there's something there.
I manage to check on him every day. And I say, hey, you know, you ready to pray about it today or whatever, you know, so we can get over this, get through this you know, and so you could cross over to a new threshold, and you know, we can get this going, because I need for him to get out of this dark place. And what everyone has to realize too, though, is that what everyone does not realize is that there is, whether you can see the light right now or not, and through every dark tunnel, there is light at the end. You cannot shut out while you're in that phase. You just can't. And that's my motivation to him right now. I'm like, look.
Well, here's the thing, though, because I believe
empowerment.
Exactly, but I believe that in terms of, I think I made a mistake earlier when I said that men aren't given the space to express their emotions. You are. It's just those emotions are really limited. You're allowed to express lust and anger, and that seems like the only two.
I disagree completely, and I hear you both. But what I'm gonna say is, we're not incapable of expressing emotions.
No, I did not say that. I said you're not allowed.
We express emotions to whom we want to and when we want to. So if I'm sure a married man communicates with his wife at some point in their relationship what's going on. When things come to like the breaking point.
If your spouse is the only person that you can talk to about things that bother you, you're in a lot of trouble.
What do you mean?
Because your spouse is not going to always be there. You're going to fight with them sometimes.
But I'm not going to talk to a stranger either.
Who do you go to, though, when you're in a fight with your spouse? Male or female, who do you go to?
My friend.
So who are these friends? That's what I'm saying. Who are these male friends that you can open up to? And do both of you have the maturity level to realize just because we're both men doesn't mean we don't feel things? Because speaking from a generalized point of view, everyone in this room is different. And I believe that we are all exceptional human beings. So,
right.
But for general viewpoints, I don't believe that we've reached that level in society yet where a man can look at another man and say, it's okay, you can cry in front of me and I'm not going to judge you. I don't think we're there yet.
Actually, I think we have another problem. I think there's another problem on the table, because the reality is, because we're talking about suicide, is your friends in your circle need to be able to admit when they've reached their limit, to say, like you said, okay, I'm here for you, but what you're going through is outside of my scope, so we need to consult somebody else. Instead of saying, oh, and that's where I feel like when we try to fill the gaps, that's when I feel like we use religion or spirituality to fill a gap that we can't fill, instead of saying, you know what, maybe we do need to seek a professional for you because this is outside of my scope. I don't understand. We do need to seek a professional. And I don't think people are honest in our circles to say, I can't deal with this with you. I don't understand it. Because I'll tell people in a heartbeat with my circle, if something, even with y'all, if something happens, and I think I've done it with you, you ask me a question, I'll go, I don't know, you might have to ask Trish that one. Instead of saying, oh, well, this is how you should do it, knowing that's not my scope. And we need to stop doing that. We need to say, this is outside of my scope of expertise. We might need to consider bringing in a professional, you know, because if you go with them, it's probably easier for them than you saying, okay, you need to go see a psychiatrist.
Right.
But we don't do that.
I think that's also a part of it, and especially within the African-American community, is that we don't want to be stigmatized. And I think a huge part of opening up that conversation is getting rid of that stigma. Because when people say, oh, you need to go see, you need some help, you need Jesus, like, it's kind of that judgment, that condemnation that you feel where you're like, well, I don't want to open up to anybody about this because I don't want people thinking I'm crazy. I don't want people thinking, it's that kind of box that we place people in who are going through this that is not helping them at all, especially if I realize in other cultures, not just the African-American community, but in minority cultures in general, it's really hard to break out. Like, one of my best friends is Vietnamese. Another one of my best friends, she's Mexican. And we've all kind of sat around and had this conversation and seen that, you know, in talking to our parents and our cultures, it's really hard because we're not given the space for that conversation. It needs to start opening up like that. Because I think it is a lot easier in Caucasian households to have that, because Caucasian people are more so given the benefit of the doubt when it comes to mental health issues. All right, so I'm going to close the door on that one. I think we beat that one to a pulp. The basis for having that conversation for that long is we've got to be realistic about the way we view suicide and how we respond to suicide. Because people will say, oh, I wish they'd have reached out, I wish they would have called. In reality, if they would have called you and said, I'm ready to commit suicide, are you ready and willing to stop what you're doing to go to their aid?
And a lot of us cannot say we would. We would say, oh, well, I'm at work. I can get to you a little later on. Or you be like, I'll just get it together. We both in this together. I got my own problems. You get it together so we can keep moving. And that's not that's not going to stop this problem of suicide. It's going to make it worse. Because at the end of the day, when somebody's suicidal, they feel like they're alone as is. So if I reach out to you and I get pushback and I don't feel like you're there, do you really think that's going to help the situation or is it going to make it worse? So we got to really think about that. All right, so let's move into something a little more lighter. So let's go to trending with Michelle. So what's trending in the Twitter world? What are everybody tweeting about and talking about?
Oh boy, well I don't know how light it is, but we'll try and.
Why did you pick a fun one? Because everybody's gonna kill me for like you said.
Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, maybe we need a little bit of sunshine. Of light there.
Yeah, a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of fun stuff. I mean, outside of the fact that apparently Insecure came back last night, so everybody was all up in arms.
I'm
about it.
My
And I've tried to get into Insecure. It's not
good.
a bad show. I don't know. I need to go back and watch it again. But apparently, my homegirl was on the show last night, Erica Alexander, and I guess they did a throwback of a sitcom in a sitcom. For something, I don't know. I don't watch it, but apparently she was in it. And I guess they did a throwback to Living Single, I'm assuming. But it was a big deal all on Twitter last night because I finally think I found Black Twitter that was talked about. I think I finally found it.
You finally found it?
I think I finally found
Black
it.
Twitter, he found y'all.
So that was trending in Black Twitter. So, yeah, okay. But what else?
What about Love Is? Oh.
Love It. What do you mean Love Is?
That's a show on OWN. I've heard about it,
Nope.
but I thought that was trending last week because apparently Loretta Devine was on, and there was some scene she gave, and it was the life to everybody in the community.
I have watched the show, and I really liked it, but I didn't see that one.
How you bring up something you didn't watch?
I didn't watch the last.
How you bring up?
I did not watch
Read
the
it,
last.
watch it.
I did not watch the last episode, but it is a really good show, and it's based off a true story, so that's why I really like it.
I don't know. I'm starting to get concerned. Like I'm watching these two response to you. Are you really that tough in the intern room? Because just like these two don't have submissive personalities, but when it deals with you,
look at
it seems like they fall submissive. Is there abuse going on in the bullpen in the back? Like what is? Why is everybody's like personality changes when they're in the room with you? Like what is? And that's not a bad thing. I'm actually impressed.
I don't know. I said I'm firm. Well, I don't know what it is. I don't know.
I think it's her bubbly personality. I just be like.
No, Michelle has a bubbly personality, but y'all don't bend when she's in the room like it seems to be with Makia. That's not a bad thing. I mean,
Makia.
Oh.
She's our rock. But we still check in on her because we love her.
I feel like I need to roll the cameras in the bullpen and see what's really going on. Like, are you abusing them or something? What is really happening right now?
I'm really like, I absorb everything that everyone's talking about, and I'm just like, yeah. And then if I have an opinion about something, I get it. We're all like that. Don't put me on the spot.
Don't get it twisted. I'm impressed. That's why it just caught me off guard. I didn't think it would be you. But apparently it's you that's like the little team lead with the interns. I'm impressed.
Team lead or just the boss? Or bossy?
I don't know.
I'm not bossy.
I don't know.
Don't you say that.
That she gonna put her hands on the hips. So it's just like,
you did kind of get real aggressive in that moment. So that usually is an indicator that they're probably telling the truth. Again, no shade. I'm impressed. I didn't think it'd be you.
Who'd you think it'd be?
Well, I mean, Darren, you're like 7 feet tall. I figured that would be like you're 7 feet tall. That everybody would be.
I'm not a bully.
But then you are kind of light skinned, so that might make a difference too. I'm just
stereotype.
He didn't even know what to say.
Oh
my God.
I want to catch him off guard. I was say.
I
do that to David all the time. So I'm used to David's used to jumping in because I do it to him all the time. We pull that light skin and brown skin card all the time. Okay. That's just kind of how we do. So
well, speaking of light skin and brown skin, so the trending for the day, I'm gonna go to music because you guys know I'm a music head. And recently over the weekend, speaking of Black Twitter, they went crazy because Sam Smith says he doesn't like Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yes.
Black Twitter.
Wait, I thought he's made reference to him in the past.
I feel like every single musician under the sun has made reference to MJ in the past. But yeah, apparently he doesn't like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, but what was the context? Because we'll take an excerpt from something and run with it, and then you go back and read the whole story, and you're just like, how did we get to that place? Like, that was a snapshot of the interview that happened.
So apparently Adam Lambert accidentally posted a video of Sam Smith saying, "I don't like Michael Jackson, but this is a good song." So apparently they were listening to one of his songs. And Adam, you let the cat out the bag.
He's wrong for that.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if that was accidental or if that was shade. So we're watching you, Mr. Lambert. But that was the comment that was, leaked out, and Black Twitter went crazy. Of course, though, it's
But
Michael.
does he have to like Michael Jackson?
True.
You don't have to. Fine. You don't have to. But how can you not expect a response from Black Twitter? Come on.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If you went through all the music, and I'm a music head. If you went through and I'm a '90s music head. If you went through my music, you're not gonna find a lot of Michael Jackson. Like
what?
it's just,
Wow.
I've
What's
never.
going on?
He's just not.
Now Sam
I'm a
Smith is
singer.
a different story. But
I'm a singer. So Michael
going
to me wasn't a singer. I mean, maybe when he was a small kid, but when he
He's more
became an
like
adult,
pop.
he was more pop and a performer. So you won't find a lot of Michael Jackson's music in my repertoire. Now Janet, yes, you'll find a lot of Janet all throughout my media player, but Michael, he was never my thing. Because I'm like, you're not really a singer, and you're more of a performer. But I don't really like dance music like that.
We need like a Michael Jackson scream.
Let me ask you this. Right, we really do.
What?
Like Michael Jackson, like the way you make me feel. Like
right, engineers help us out. Come on.
I mean, his
Michael Jackson.
So would we find a lot of Prince in your music list?
No.
No.
Oh, no, but PYT
No
don't
Prince?
make you just,
I mean,
right?
I mean,
you
now-
rock my world. Come on.
Now, earlier Michael Jackson stuff, yes, but
Dirty
towards
Diana.
later,
Butterflies.
Woo!
Oh my
Butterflies
God.
I adore. Now
Yes,
you will
you
find
can
butterflies.
make
You will find
butterflies.
You Are Not Alone because it touches me. You will find Remember the Time
Right.
because I remember the video. So I always because I remember when that video came out, it was
Will
like,
you be there?
no.
No. Oh my
Straight up.
goodness.
No.
No.
It was on the Free Willy soundtrack. Come
Dirty
on.
Diana I can get with
Yes.
Back Me in the Mood.
Look.
Well, see,
Look
I
now.
see
Give me
what
my
you're
will
saying,
for
though, because
Willie.
there's only certain Michael Jackson songs that I can just, like, really be like, yeah, but, like, other ones, like, Will You Be There and stuff like that, it's just like...
It's just not my thing. But I mean, again, Janet, I don't know.
Respect, though, respect.
But then I've been told I have a thing with male performers. You won't
Oh, so
find
you
a
don't
lot
like
of
male performers?
No, I didn't say that. But again, I'm a singer, so the male performers I'm going to like are singers. So you will
what
find
male
Luther
performers you
Vandross.
like? Okay.
Okay.
You will find Joe. I love Joe. You will
Okay.
find.
Now, what
Marvin
type of
Gaye.
music? Like, are we gonna find some Sammy Davis Jr.?
No.
Like, what are we? No.
No.
Marvin Gaye.
Sam Smith.
Yeah,
Sam
Okay.
Smith does have a beautiful voice. I'll give him that. He has
you'll find that.
crazy
I'm
taste
trying
in
to
music,
think who
but
was my favorite male artist because I do Usher. You'll find a lot of Usher because Usher can
Yeah,
sing.
Usher, yeah.
Actually, Chris Brown. I actually like Chris Brown's music. So,
so
find
you
a lot
have
of
all
Chris
the
Brown.
artists who have borrowed from Michael Jackson. You just don't have Michael Jackson. I'm just pointing it out. I'm just
I'm
Well,
actually
they
impressed.
say
You're right.
They borrowed from him
Heavily.
in a way, like Chris Brown dance moves, but as far as he was inspired, but
Yeah.
I don't connect
my
his
God.
music with Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't
doing
make
this
that connotation.
heavily inspired. I wish I could have done all my college papers like
And
that. This was
honestly,
heavily
Chris
inspired,
Brown would still be
Professor.
like-
Well, I
on
think there's a
top,
difference
top.
between somebody biting somebody's style and being inspired by somebody. Like I'm inspired by Larry King because I want to be the next Larry King, but I don't think I do things like Larry King does them. So I'm not biting his style. I'm just inspired by him.
Yeah,
Meaning my thought
inspired.
process,
Fair enough.
is kind of where they were. But I'm not biting them because I don't want to
I
be
still
them.
think I don't know. Maybe you don't have to like Michael, but you definitely got to give credit where credit is due.
I said
wouldn't rob him.
respect. I said respect.
Yeah, I wouldn't rob him.
Well, no. It's just like with Sam's comments here, and of course this was a candid video, probably not really. I don't know, 50% shade Adam Lambert, probably maybe not meant to be leaked. But I don't know. I can't judge whether there's a tone of disrespect here or just a tone of stating a fact of I don't like Michael Jackson. I don't know.
I mean, you can.
And then he
you
said, I don't
can-
like Michael Jackson like that. Or did he say, I
Yeah, I'm
don't
about to say,
like
did he say I don't like
Okay.
him or I don't love him? Because you
So-
can like somebody and not love
Yeah,
him and vice
he's like-
versa.
The
Like,
The two were seen soaking up some sun on a boat when Lambert panned over to Smith, who can be seen saying, I don't like Michael Jackson, but this is a good song. The clip ended right after with a few friends not seen replying, wow.
Oh, so it's like I can picture that. It wasn't like just a
Yeah.
flat out like I don't.
See, the
He was
text can be
saying
taken
like I
differently.
really don't like Michael Jackson, but I like this song.
yeah, I
kinda
mean, I
like
say it all the
that.
time. I mean, like, But there's that
And
stigma.
maybe-
You talk about
and
stigma.
that's
That's a
just
stigma.
a,
So just because I'm
you
black,
know.
I'm so like Michael Jackson?
No, I said nothing about your skin color. I said everything about
Well,
the
you
fact
said I'm
that-
surprised you. Like, why me?
Because you are a singer and you were a music head, as you stated. And he is the king of pop.
When I think about Michael Jackson, I think of a performer, which is fine because in my head, there are only 3 people that I think are real life performers. Michael Jackson would definitely be number 1. Beyonce would definitely be number 2. Chris Brown would definitely be number 3. Those are the 3 people that can give a performance. And when I say a performance,
Did you pause at Chris Brown too?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Cool.
Yeah, that's why I looked at you
I
like,
paused at
I
it
was
too.
like-
I was like, oh wait.
all right, well, give me y'all top 3 performers. And when I say
I wouldn't even say
performers,
3. I wouldn't even say
Janet
3.
Jackson is still alive, is she not?
oh, I forgot about that. Okay, Janet.
Okay.
Okay, Janet. Okay, 4. Top 4.
Beyonce, and I'm not no Beehive.
Me either,
fan,
but
give credit when credit is due.
Beyonce, she is a great performer, hands
does,
down.
she
Elton John will still put on one heck of a performance. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
but it depends on how you define performance. When I think performance,
Tiana
I mean,
Taylor is a good performer.
but
She
again,
is.
it
I give her
depends.
that.
I don't even know what Tiana Taylor does. What does she do?
does it all. She
Everybody keeps saying
acts,
that. What does she do?
She acts, she sings.
There lies in the
She is
problem.
so
She did
So what does she
You
do?
didn't see over the weekend she had a concert and she
Her
was,
wig fell off.
Yes,
She-
that's
she-
how hard
The
she
The
goes.
only
That's
reason
how
I
hard.
watched that was because they were like, her wig fell off. I was like, I gotta see this. That's the only reason.
And she made it work. The concert didn't stop. Nothing stopped
I
the
don't
show.
understand
She
what
swinging
Tiana
it
Taylor
around.
does.
Exactly.
I don't understand what she does. Like, is she? Most people they
She
they
just-
no.
She started off as when she was 16, she was on I forgot what show it was she was
Sweet
on, but it was
16.
on she had a Sweet 16.
That's when I first met her.
And that's when like a lot
This
of
one, the
people
TV show Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
doesn't count.
when-
That's not a show.
No, but I'm saying that's when she was introduced because of her look. She was such an NYC girl with the big hair, baggy clothes, but she knew how to dress. She was a tomboy. And then following that, she started to create. She's always been like in music, but she never like I think one of her first was like she did a remix to Marvin's Room, Drake's Marvin's Room or whatever.
I didn't know she did that.
Yeah, and a lot of people
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
the
people
problem.
like that. But to get back to what she started off in music, but she's so talented. She just like with Sierra is a dancer and a singer.
Yeah,
Tiana
but
Taylor,
Sierra, but the way Sierra was packaged, she was packaged that way. So we all knew Sierra could actually sing, but she's a dancer. She was packaged that way. Tiana Taylor is all over the map. Like 1 minute she's an actor, 1 minute she's doing an album,
because she
I mean,
she's
do we really have
talented.
to-
which
She's
is fine.
talented.
But people still brand themselves typically off one thing, and then they spread to other things.
But do you
T.I.,
have
we-
to? Like, do you have to?
It's not, but then you can get the questions like I have. So when people mention her name, I don't understand what she does. I'm not saying she
Because,
can't do
like,
them
with
well.
T.I.,
He started as a rapper,
he
and
did
then
start as a rapper,
he
but
branched
he
off.
knew. Yeah, then he branched
What
off.
do you
But
do
some
now?
people,
He doesn't rap.
He's more of a business.
Well,
he can
here's
do
my
either
thing.
one.
He would be
He's
like a
an
Ludacris.
Yeah, I mean, but they
They knew
started
it.
off as they branded themselves as rappers, and then they matured and started doing other stuff. That's fine, but we know when you say Ludacris and you say T.I., primarily people go, "Oh, they're rappers." Now,
But there are a lot of artists in Hollywood that do that. Like Donald Glover does that. One
is
minute,
that?
Childish
Oh, wow,
Gambino.
you don't know Donald Glover.
You just said on another show you listen to Childish Gambino.
I'm
1
trying
minute,
to understand.
1 minute
exactly.
he's a rapper. 1 minute he's an actor. He's writing. He's got his hand in a
I
whole
feel like
bunch of
that's
stuff
just
in
how it
Hollywood.
is now. Like,
Like,
everybody's doing some of
more than
everything.
one hustle,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Which, I mean,
Exactly.
it's fine, but again, people want to put and it's a society thing. People are going to want to label you as one particular thing. Now, you can do other stuff, but people are going to label you as one thing. Now, when you say his name, I think of him as an actor because that's more so what I know him about. But I know he does music and stuff like that. I've actually heard his music actually pretty nice. But primarily, he's an actor. That's how he started, for what I know. So he still has that one thing. Tiana Taylor, I can't put her
But
anywhere.
see what you
'Cause
said?
you can't
said
trace her
society.
origin.
That
You
too.
said society. So she,
Which is where we live.
Right, but that's what Tiana Taylor, when you she is her, just like Cardi B in a way.
No.
No. I'm
No.
talking
I
about
think
her
they're a little
own,
different.
No,
Yeah, they're
no,
different.
listen, y'all I didn't finish the sentence. She is
There
her
she go.
own person. She's her own.
Everybody's their own person.
No, she's her own. She's not. Tiana Taylor does not go based off of what society wants for her to be and wants for her to do.
You're saying she
does
doesn't
what
follow the
she
beaten
feels
path.
like. She does what she feels like when she wants to do it. If Tiana Taylor want to be a dancer today, guess what she's gonna be? She's gonna be a dancer today. If she want to be a singer tomorrow, she's gonna be a singer tomorrow.
that's
If
fine.
she want to act the next day,
Okay,
she's gonna act the
And
next
that's
day.
fine, but there, at some point, there comes a place where you have to put yourself in the vein and go. And I'll use an example. When Jill Scott first, I love Jill Scott. When Jill Scott first came out, she wanted to either create or restore neo soul. So when she came out, she played by her own rules. She did it the way she wanted to do it, and everybody was kind of like, "What is?" Because I remember when I first heard, what is his name? It's not "Give Me That," but that's the hook. Love That or something like that. And it's just like, do you love it when you call it green? Do you love? And everybody was like, what is she's singing about soul food? But she did it her own way. But eventually she started curving toward the middle, and eventually she ended up becoming mainstream. So she started outside the bounds, and once it took off, then she ended up being more mainstream, which is cool. So that's my point to Tiana Taylor. You can start outside the box, but if you really want to make it like huge and people know your name, at some point you got to get in the mainstream.
You just want to figure out what she's doing mainly.
I mean, she doesn't have to. It's up to her. I'm just saying I don't know what she does.
Oh I think she's going more so into music just because she just came out with her album or whatever. I think she's going more towards music. That's in my opinion. I don't know. But I personally feel that if you are talents, if you're in the industry, and she gets offered a lot of, like, you know, people are like, you know, ooh, can you do this, or, you know, can you do that? So I think, you know, that's why she's been seen performing and doing this and that, because she's.
I think she's trying to find herself too. Because she just had a show with her husband.
Yeah.
So and then
so I think she's just trying to, like, you know, she's still young as well, so she's just trying to see what is it, a niche?
What she likes.
You know, what her
niche.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just
niche.
saying but she's a good example of what it boils down to.
Oh, she came to my job the other day too.
But I'll tell you this much. I bet Tiana Taylor likes Michael Jackson. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, good God, we still on that?
That's all I'm saying.
I like Janet.
I'm sure.
I like Janet. So I like a Jackson. It just it doesn't happen to be Michael. I love Janet.
But can't you like someone though? Like, I like Michael Jackson, but I'm not.
I don't love him.
But I don't love him. I like I like
Actually,
Beyonce.
it's the opposite. I love him, but I don't have to like his music. I love him. I think he's a great performer.
Yeah, there
but I
we
don't have
go.
to like his
Yeah.
music. I mean, and I'm not saying I don't.
Beyonce.
I'm just saying I don't.
Beyonce is to me, she's such the humblest, richest person ever and a great performer, but I'm not Beehive. I'm not,
careful,
Beyonce
Makia. They're going to come
top.
for you. They're
I'm
going to
not-
they buzzing
no,
right now. They're going to
because-
come for you.
No, because some people think that Beyonce, there are literally people who praise to Beyonce. Never,
They do, yeah.
never a day in my life ever will I ever.
Well, I think the thing about Beyonce is, and when I talk about artists and I talk about controlling your narrative, the only person you can turn to is Beyonce, because her and Jay-Z control that narrative. They always have. You don't know any more about them than they want you to know, and you're not going to find out any more about them than they want you to know. And it's dynamic. But when I think about a performer, I think about somebody. If there's an award show, who am I looking for? If there's an award show and I don't see Beyonce's name, I'm probably not tuned in unless you have Chris Brown. Or maybe
Chris Brown. Oh my God.
Chris Brown doesn't. I wouldn't pay to go to a concert. I'm not a concert person.
Beyonce, Rihanna, Nicki.
Rihanna.
A Chris Brown concert.
Okay, no. Rihanna will give you a performance.
Yeah, but
I'm not there for the vocals, but she will give you a
girl.
performance.
But what she just said, the problem. I'm a singer, so vocally, Rihanna.
I'm
can
not
hit or
there
miss.
for the vocals, but I am there for the performance.
Beyonce can give you both. She can sing, dance all over the stage, and can still sing.
No,
so
yeah.
I'm enthralled with her because it's amazing.
And
what
you
she
just
can
said
do.
Chris Brown. Chris Brown is actually okay. I went and saw him in concert. He is actually a really good performer, in my opinion.
He's a dancer.
He did
the
a
boy
whole
does
little,
it.
He on the little dish thingy and it was spinning around and he was dancing and stuff on it. I was like,
That's what a performer. Even when you think about Michael Jackson became such a great performer because he could do that kind of stuff. You have set changes. You have 50,000 dancers. To me, that's a performer. If you can't do that, I'm not really interested. Now, I will say, when I watched the BET Awards and Her came out, I was really impressed with her performance, but the girl can actually sing. Her, H-E-R. The girl can actually sing. So she did a really good job, considering that she's not a performer, but she did a really good job. But a lot of them
Speaking
can't
of
perform.
performer, did we all see Normani at the Billboard Awards?
Oh, I love her. I already said
Who?
she's gonna blow up.
Normani? Oh my
You guys don't
God!
know who she is?
I don't even know who that is.
Oh
and I don't
my
feel bad because
goodness.
Makia doesn't know.
You know,
I know.
right? Thank you.
So I'm
Thank
still-
you.
she's
Oh
gonna
my
sneak up on you.
goodness. Y'all did not
I've always
disrespect
said.
her like that.
So she was in Fifth Harmony.
Oh,
So
okay.
she was the black girl in Fifth
I was about to
Harmony.
say, is that the black girl?
And- Yeah, and
Yes.
she's gonna.
Is she
She's
going solo?
somewhere. Yes.
They all go solo at this point.
Well, she's doing her modeling right now. She got a modeling
She
contract.
got a model. She's gonna make it. That's
Yeah,
all I'm
but
saying.
she's. Oh my-
I looked at her the first
love
time
her.
I saw her. And I
Oh,
was like, she's
that's what I'm
gonna
going to
make
say. Okay, so
Normani,
I like
if
to
you're
give
listening,
tests.
I love you.
I like to give tests. So what also was trending, because I actually looked at it last night, because I found it. It was amazing. Is apparently Drew Hill is coming out with a new album.
No, stop it.
But here's the kicker. I don't know if y'all remember this, so I'm going to see. Do y'all remember a group called Player from the 90s? They had that song Cheers to You. I didn't think
we
so.
millennials.
All right.
How did
There
it
was a
go?
group. It's like Cheers to You for getting something. I didn't really like the song, but I remember it. In any event, Woody left. and Jazz left. Jazz wants to do a solo album. I don't know why at this point in his career, but Jazz left to do a solo album. So, they have replaced one of them with a new guy as well. So they left 3 members, Cisco, Nokio, and the new guy, which I don't know his name. So they added Player to them. So now, I guess they're not changing the name, but now Player, it was 3 members in Player, and I guess one of the guys left. So now they blended. So now it's Dru Hill and Player together, but they're keeping the name Dru Hill.
I like it.
Okay. Well, I'm interested. I'm excited to see. I'll go check it out when it drops. When is it dropping?
I don't know, but the name of the album is, I think, Resurrection or something.
It needs
but
to be
it's the 5 of them, so it should be
R&B
interesting.
just isn't the same anymore like it used to be in the 90s.
It's not.
At all.
And
But-
I'm
I don't know
so sad about
how
it.
it happened. How did that happen?
But the beauty of it is returning, because with artists like her, Daniel Caesar, it's so many of them that are out now. I'm hearing their music. I'm like, this is what R&B is supposed to be, especially her. Her album had like 20-something songs on it. I think I skipped 2. That's good for me. Like, I can listen to her whole album
How many
without
songs do
skipping.
you usually skip?
Oh, most of them. That's why I don't buy whole albums.
Oh
like, I have to hear at least 5
You
good
need
songs.
streaming. You need streaming and downloading.
Which I have
Ricardo.
now. Which I have
I
now.
just
Okay.
thought about something. You said somebody vocal. What about Tamar? You like Tamar?
I do. But the problem with Tamar is Tony's my love. Like, Tony, I remember when she
course.
came out. Tamar wants to be a Tony, but she can't. She doesn't seem to be as consistent as Tony was. Tony's a living legend, which she jokes about all the time, because Tony has always been consistent. This chick has lived through bankruptcies. She's lived through mediocre albums, and she still can do it. Tamar has been hit, and it's like her albums go in and out. Like, she hasn't been able to be consistent, which is what I'm missing from her, because they have the same type of voice. Tamar is more of a soprano, Tony's an alto. So they have the same style of voice. It's just the consistency's not there for Tamar, which is unfortunate, because Tamar is amazing when it comes to singing. I love her songs.
Do you think she's living in Tony's shadow a little bit?
You said what?
I think she is, but I think she's not good with it. Like, the other sisters, when they do music, they're okay with being Tony's sisters, and they're willing to put in the work to be different. Tamar doesn't seem to want to be Tony's sister, baby sister. But if it works for you and it helps you get on the platform, what's wrong with it?
Right.
Because we know who Tamar is. But I feel like she spent so much time trying not to be Tony's little sister that she's put herself in her own box of her own making. So now it's kind of like we live to see what Tamar's next antic is going to be versus her next album. It's not a good place to be in if you want to be an artist.
True. But
I did want to say, too, I'm not trying to interrupt, but anybody who's out there that loves Beyonce and, is diehard like that, I do understand that she is the queen and all that stuff.
she got to put a
but-
disclaimer.
Yeah.
She got to put a disclaimer.
No,
to the
just in
Bayhive.
case-
I can't
Look,
save
no,
you.
just
They
in
was
case-
coming. They was
No,
coming.
look, just in case, I ever make it and, Beyonce is no disrespect, love you, but just,
We love you, Beyonce.
Yeah.
Did y'all see
I
she
just-
just
I don't
cleaned
know.
it up though?
I didn't think you needed to. You didn't say anything bad. I didn't
Yeah,
think
but
you
I
But
was
you
just
know
like-
how the Bayhive is.
yeah.
You
and it's
know.
just
Well, I'm not gonna walk on
isn't that
eggshells,
the
Sissy
same
does.
girl who was dissing Beyonce on IPNX?
They're going to find you.
No.
The kid going to be pumping gas. They're going to be like, was that you? Got her.
Yeah, they liable to egg you if they see you in public. I'm just saying.
Well, I already got a hoe with a bird poop on my car, so go ahead.
Ew. Again, I think
It was
Tamar is
under a lot of
amazing.
trees.
She can sing amazing. I think I've been doing karaoke to Tamar. Yes, I do karaoke on Fridays when I'm shaving my head. I'm not embarrassed. And I'm a singer, like I said, so I'm like, we doing karaoke in my car. One of my friends called me the other day. I was going to town. She's like, what were you singing? I didn't even know she was beside me. She's like, what were you singing? I was like, I don't know, but I probably was into it, which I probably was Lettucey, because I just discovered a new song by Lettucey that's not even new, but I just heard it all the way. I didn't hear it, but apparently it's not new. It came out last year, but I just heard it, and I've been karaokeing it and singing it for days.
Did you like
So I feel
Destiny's
like-
Child?
I love Destiny's Child.
Oh my gosh, who did it?
But that was my club days. So
Your club
club
days.
days.
Oh, he's sanctified now. He ain't got
there,
no more club
and
days.
there lies in the point when y'all talk about people are real people. The mere fact that y'all did that when I said club days. Yeah, think about that.
I didn't do anything. I just said.
I know not you, but these two
Full-
club
full-
days.
Full
Yes.
admission, club days.
Yes, from 17 to 22, all I did was club. Yes, I was not this
Yes,
person.
yes.
Y'all forget I'm almost 40, so this has been a long time of refinement and going through some things. Yes, from 17 to 22, my parents only saw me on Thursday night. I came in, I changed clothes, I was out till Sunday.
Oh
Did you
my-
like TLC?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my generation. Destiny's
Well,
Child.
see, no, I
TLC.
didn't know. I was just trying to get a feel of, because when we had other discussion, just finding out who aren't really big fans of their music or whatever. So I just want to know. But how can you not love TLC either? So
Yeah, TLC,
Right.
Destiny's Child. If you go through my phone, you're probably going to see a lot of Tony Braxton, a lot of, well, you're probably going to see a lot of gospel, but R&B wise, Ledisi,
Any Tamia?
Tony Braxton, definitely. Tamia.
There we go.
Tamia has a new song I'm loving.
Really?
Leave It Smoking. Oh my God. It's like a little different flavor from her. I love it. That's the kind of stuff I listen to.
So Darren, Makia, so our next intern Friday, we might have to do some karaoke and bring Ricardo in here.
Okay.
The devil's a lie. All right, final wrap up. Everybody give a final thought, less than 1 minute. Makia, go first. Final thought, less than 1 minute.
Well,
I said less than 1 minute.
okay.
You can just say goodbye. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I had it was a great show today. I had it was nice conversation.
Nice conversation.
It was great conversation, and I'm not that bossy, but okay.
Darren.
Cool. Great show today. Just want to let anybody know out there, if you're going through anything, please reach out to someone who's close to you. If they're at work, just send them a text message or just bear with them and just reach out. It's help out here for everybody.
Michelle.
I just want to say I had a great show. Like Darren said, if you are going through anything or you feel you need to talk to someone, definitely call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. You can find them at 1-800-273-8255.
You better be a commercial.
And everybody have a great day. And please take some time to really think about the whales and save our environment.
Oh, my God.
What Michelle said, not about the whales, but
Oh, my
what
God.
she said, 'cause I
Anyway,
didn't-
and a final thought. Again, I want everybody to think about this conversation. If you listen to it, I want you to really think about it. If somebody really reached out to you, are you really capable? Are you willing to stop what you're doing to go to their aid? If not, then we need to rethink the way we look at suicide, because it's not going to be convenient when somebody decides they're in a dark place. So I will see you guys on Friday when we have up-and-coming Congressman Flynn Brody with us. He will be talking with us on Friday. And on Wednesday, we and Michelle will be on site at the Georgia Partnership for Education.
The Critical Issues Forum for
covering that
2018.
event. So we're getting real political on you this week. So I'll see you same time, same place on Friday on the Leadership Blend with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. Hey everybody, it's Ricardo D. Rice from the Leadership Blend, simplifying your leadership.